一体何が世界貿易センターを倒壊させたのか、専門家に聞いてみよう。バン・ロメロ氏、ニューメキシコ鉱山技術研究所副所長。ビデオテープに基づいた私の意見です。世界貿易センター内にいくつかの爆破装置があったと思います。両タワーの崩壊はあまりに整然としたもので、飛行機が原因ではありません。ところが10日後、確かに火災が崩壊を引き起こしました。なぜ突然に考えを変えたのか。ハイマン・ブラウン氏、土木工学教授、世界貿易センターの建設管理者。世界貿易センターは、ハリケーンや強風、爆弾、ボーイング707型機の衝突にも耐えるよう設計されていましたが、1090度で燃えるジェット燃料が鋼鉄を弱めてしまいました。世界貿易センターで使われている鋼鉄の品質保証をしたアンダーライターズ・ラボラトリーズ社のケビン・ライアンはアメリカ標準技術局のフランク・ゲイルへの手紙でこう言っている。その鋼鉄は耐火基準に合格しています。この耐火試験では約1000度で数時間さらすという基準を設けています。我々は貿易センターに使われた鋼鉄は規格を満たしていることに合意しております。加えて非耐火性の鋼鉄でもおよそ1650度という超高温に達するまでは溶けないはずです。ブラウン博士の1090度という温度がハイグレードな鋼鉄を溶かしたとする主張は意味不明です。辻褄が合っていません。もしあの鋼鉄が柔らかくなったり溶けたりしたのなら、両タワー内の火災の原因はジェット燃料ではなかったということになります。ライアンの意見はまさに世界貿易センター内での1090度の熱が2つのタワーの崩壊を引き起こしたと主張するいわゆる専門家らの発言と矛盾している。この手紙を書いた数日後、ケビン・ライアン氏は解雇された。専門家たちでさえ意見が割れている。では他に何がツインタワーと第7ビルを崩壊させたのか。
The second building that was hit by the plane has just completely collapsed.
We have no idea what caused this.
Almost looks like one of those planned implosions.
As if a demolition team set off. When you see the old demolitions of these old buildings, it folded down on itself and it is not there anymore.
If you wish to bring anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
We heard another explosion, and I'm assuming that's the one that came from the lower level, since there were two. And I said,
right, because it was like 18 minutes apart.
Well, this is the first explosion, and there was a second explosion in the same building. There were two explosions.
Okay.
Federal agencies that were down there do believe that there was some sort of explosive device somewhere else besides the planes hitting.
NBC's Pat Dawson is close to the scene of that attack. Pat?
Just moments ago, I spoke to the chief of safety for the New York City Fire Department. Chief Albert Turry, he received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off. He tried to get his men out as quickly as he could, but he said that there was another explosion which took place. And then an hour after the first hit here, with the first crash that took place, he said, there was another explosion that took place in one of the towers here. He thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building. The second device, he speculates, was probably planted in the building.
There were 2 or 3 similar huge explosions, and the building literally shook. You literally shook at the base of this building.
First one and then the other. Some say after secondary explosions.
When a big explosion happened, all of a sudden the elevator blew up, smoke. I dragged the guy out. His skin was hanging off, and I dragged him out, and I helped him out to the ambulance.
Walking down the stairs, we made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
Just got out of the tunnel, and it blew.
The subway tunnel?
Yeah.
Tell us what's happening out there.
Oh my
We just witnessed some kind of secondary follow-up explosion on the World Trade Center #2, the one.
Secondary.
We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2.
There was another major explosion. The building itself, literally the top of it came down, sending smoke and debris everywhere. Collapsed.
5 blocks from the World Trade Center, and we were standing here when there was some sort of collapse or explosion. Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse? To me, it sounded like an explosion. When I try to tell people, in a moment we heard a big explosion coming down. Everything just went black. Everything came down, glass started popping, and people got hurt, stuff went on top of them, and it was a big explosion, and everything got dark, real dark, like snow.
The FBI is here, as you can see. They had roped this area off. They were taking photographs and securing this area just prior to that huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
Coming over our radio, get out of the area, the second tower is coming down.
They tell you the second tower is...
Yes, it's about to collapse.
At 10:30, I tried to leave the building, but as soon as I got outside, I heard a second explosion and another rumble and more smoke and more dust. I ran inside the buildings, the chandelier shook, and again, black smoke filled the air. Within another 5 minutes, we were covered again with more silt and more dust. And then a fire marshal came in and said we had to leave because if there was a third explosion, this building might not last.
We just saw that as well. The second tower, the only one that was standing, tower number 1, just we saw some kind of explosion, a lot of smoke come out at the top of the tower, and then it collapsed down onto the streets below.
David Lee, what can you tell us?
John, just seconds ago there was a huge explosion, and it appears right now the second World Trade Tower has just collapsed.
サウスタワーから2ブロック半離れたところにいたある目撃者は、10階から15階のビルの内部から放たれたいくつもの短い光源を見たという。彼はサウスタワーが崩壊するまでパチパチという音とともにおよそ6つの閃光を見ている。貿易センター向かいワンリバティプラザの36階で会合に出ていたジニー・カー氏は最初の攻撃の全てをテープに録音した。衝突の後、2番目の爆発が9秒後に聞こえる。ではノースタワーに何が起こったのか、ウィリー・ロドリゲス氏に聞いてみよう。彼は清掃作業員として20年間貿易センターに勤め、ノースタワー衝突の時地下1階にいた。
So it was a difference between coming from the basement and coming from the top. And that's, everybody started screaming. And a person comes running into the office saying, explosion, explosion, explosion. He got his hand extended and all the skin was pulled from his under his arm, all the way to the top of the fingertips, and he was hanging on both arms. Hanging and hanging. And then I look at his face and he was missing parts on his face. And I said, what happened? What happened? And he said, the elevators, the elevators. And when there were many explosions, and when I actually talk about those explosions, they said that, well, there were so many kitchens in the building, and they have probably those gas canisters. And I said, I don't believe that because the building was a Class A building. There are very strict guidelines of what you can put in a kitchen, and I really doubt it was gas. So there was a lot of misconceptions of what happened that day in terms of the explosions. But up to date, I haven't received an actual explanation about the different explosions that I heard on the upper floors and not all the way to the top.
ノースタワーのロビーの窓ガラスは吹き飛ばされ、壁の大理石のパネルも吹き飛ばされていた。これはエレベーターシャフトをものすごい速さで駆け下りた火の玉による被害だとされて見過ごされている。しかし、世界貿易センターの中心部やエレベーターシャフトは密閉構造で気密性が高かったので、地上の8階部分を破壊できるほどの威力を残したまま、火が400メートルも下降できるだけの十分な酸素はなかった。9月11日、ニューヨーク市は世界貿易センターで343名の消防士を失った。彼らは建物が崩壊する前とその時、両タワー内にいたので何が起こったのかよく把握していると思う。ニューヨーク消防局は何を考えているのか。まずはノーデブラザーズ社のドキュメンタリーから。